Welcome everyone to Quantum Leap. I'm your host, Toyin Umesiri, joining you here from our studio in Aurora, Illinois, the second largest city in Illinois. The guest I have for you today is Mr. Graham Robertson. He's joining us all the way from Canada. Welcome, Graham.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So let me share a little bit about your background. Mr. Graham is an award-winning marketing leader and is the author of the best-selling book, Beloved Brands, the playbook for how to build a brand your consumers will love. Mr. Graham previously served as Vice President of Marketing at Johnson & Johnson, and he currently guides marketers from around the world on how to make smarter decisions, produce better work, and deliver stronger growth for their brands. So I'm looking forward to learning from you, and I'm super excited to, really gain some insights from your years of experience. So thank you again, Graham, for being here with us.
All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So please do tell us a little bit more about how you arrived at this junction of your professional career in terms
Sure.
of branding, marketing, the work that you do today.
Yeah. So I love marketing and have spent my entire career in marketing. So I spent 20 years in marketing at some of the best companies, Johnson & Johnson, Coke, General Mills, and really loved what I did for a living. And I took a leap about 12 years ago now to get into my own business in consulting and marketing training. And what I find is I'm doing a lot of the same thinking and work, but it's more of me helping others be best at what they can do. And that's really what I find motivating at this stage of my life, is really helping people, making them smarter so they can make smarter decisions on their business.
Wow. I love that. And in a way, there's similarity in the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. I also made a transition from working at the headquarters of Walmart to become an entrepreneur. So how was that transition for you? I think for you, you came out of marketing department. So it's quite
Yeah.
interesting that you already knew the value and you already had a passion for bringing a message out there. But just in general, how was your transition?
Scary. The safety of a salary is probably what prevents a lot of people from getting into the world of entrepreneurialism, right?
Yes.
And what I have found is when I talk to a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, they almost got into it, as reluctantly or scared a little bit. I look at it, that first day felt like jumping off a cliff right
Wow.
into a lake or something like that, hoping that I land safely. But that is what it really felt like, going from a corporate salary into a business where I'm on my own. And that is also what makes it fun. And now,
Yes.
having done 12 years of this, no 2 years have looked alike. And that makes it also exciting and interesting. And but I really, part of me says I wish I did it earlier, but the other part of me says I didn't have that guts to go and do it. And that's probably what makes the difference for me, is that jump, that leap of faith. And I tell a lot of people who do it that it does feel like you're jumping, and it does feel a little bit scary, and that's okay. That's
Wow.
probably why not everybody does it.
I agree. And in a way, I submit that that in of itself gives you empathy for the job you do, in terms of whether you're working with maybe first time entrepreneurs or established businesses or global brands. I bet that personal experience you have had, both working within an established global brand itself and then probably seeing the struggles, the challenges of entrepreneurs and business owner, you being able to bring that big business experience to them is of
Yes.
incredible value.
Yeah, I think so. And a lot of entrepreneurs did work before. That's one of the things. I mean, not everybody's a 17-year-old who invents something in their garage, right?
Mm,
A lot of people who are entrepreneurs spent time working and felt that same frustration.
mm,
So I would say that I was an aggressive marketer when I was in the world of marketing who wanted to make things happen,
mm.
but always felt held back. And
Wow.
that's just natural that those companies have more of a softer place than on your own. And so that's what I can empathize with and really find that a lot of people are like me, that they went into the business on their own because they were frustrated with maybe some of the elements that they faced in the corporate world, but still loved the business side of things that they
Mm.
wanted to keep applying in their next career.
Wow. That's fascinating. So, within your profession, right, marketing, branding, what have you found that in terms of the perception of people on how powerful, how important they must prioritize, marketing in their business, right? I've seen this struggle where many times people just expect that when if you build it, people will come,
Yes.
right? So what have you found in the field out there in terms of prioritization of marketing and this work that you do? Do people put it first or they put it last or somewhere in between?
Well, somewhere in between, and it can vary. What I
Mm,
find, if I mention that fear
yeah.
of going out on your own into a business, is starting your own business, the fear sometimes creates panic
Mm-hmm.
and trying to get sales and trying to get some revenue and some profit into your business,
Mm-hmm.
that you might panic and try to do things too quickly.
Mm,
And I can empathize that there is a need for money coming in, but you've got to make sure that you have a good positioning to describe your brand.
mm,
A lot of times when I meet up with business leaders, I ask them, can you describe your brand in 7 seconds?
mm.
And it's shocking how few can. And that is what the big difference. So if you think about it, how is your customer going to understand who you are if you don't understand who you are? How are any employees going to understand what they should be doing if you can't describe that brand?
Mm,
And that is a great question that leaders should be asking themselves. How do I describe my brand in 7 seconds? And then how do I take that 7 seconds and say it 10 times a day?
mm.
That's a great example of that's not in line with what we do. And
Wow.
that's where you can really get to that 7 second brand pitch can be something that is essential for a business owner.
Wow. So let's dive into it. You talked about positioning. What is brand positioning?
So brand positioning is defining your brand in the customer's mind.
Mm,
And so what you then do is once you try to define that, what you do is you use all of your marketing, product, advertising, whatever distribution to keep sending those signals. But if you brand positioning is the reputation that you establish in their brain,
mm.
and you're trying to send signals to influence that brand positioning.
Right. And to also enforce it, right? To keep it
Yes.
stronger.
Yeah, and what one of the things people can do is just a really easy shift. You can start with what you do as a product or a brand,
Mm-hmm.
and then shift it into what the consumer gets and how it makes them feel. And then your brand positioning should be more talking about what they get and how it makes them feel, and back it up with what you do. That's the difference. So if you're the fastest headache medication, then you can help people get on with their day because they feel confident that nothing's going to get in their way.
Mm,
And that's the shift you can make. And that when you talk about what the customer gets and how it makes them feel, that is a much more richer, powerful space to play into than just talking about yourself all day. I'm
Oh,
always surprised when I meet up with businesses and it's nonstop talking about themselves. If we went to a barbecue or on a date and someone talked nonstop about themselves, you'd be like, okay, enough.
oh,
Talk about me. And so that's what we try to really project with different marketing and brand leaders.
okay. That's quite funny because we do love to talk about ourselves.
Yes, we do.
However, the psychology actually is to get other people talking about the work. And
Yes,
how to do it is to your point, to position the brand in the minds of the people, and then let that be the strong, you know, you talked about positioning. So ultimately, it's not what we think about ourselves, it's what other people think about us. Is
that's
that
right.
true? Is that accurate?
Exactly. And if I were to project something,
Mm-hmm.
if I said I'm the fastest runner on the planet over 50, and the customer doesn't believe me, I've got to watch and get signals and go, okay, they're not believing this. Let me, I'm a great marketer. And then they go ding, ding, ding. So your message, what you want to be, sometimes doesn't really work out. And you've got to make sure that you're trying to send those signals to that customer. And if they reject it, they reject it. That's the reality and you need to try another message that works to get into their brain.
Wow. And okay, so let me ask you this question. Believing in a brand versus buying or investing in a brand, do those two things overlap, or is it in sequence? Do they happen one after the other, or are they the same?
It can vary. So the trigger to purchase, if I'm talking about a car, that could be 2 years in that purchase journey from me saying, I like that new car. I don't need a new car right now, but I'm going to keep that in mind. And that could take 2 to 3 years. That's just the buying journey is a lot longer. So
Mm.
in that time, you've got to understand that. And now you've got to send signals over the next 24 months and not go for the close all the time, but giving them information to arm them. On the other hand, if it's bubble gum, it could be 10 seconds. You see orange flavored gum. I need orange flavored gum. Let me buy that right away. And
Wow.
that's the impulse purchase. So you have to understand how try to map out your customer's journey to see how they interact. I was dealing with a financial services that was lending people money for homes. And I said, so started talking about the customer and they defined the customer. And I said, I bet you I can add one more thing to that definition that will really define them.
Mm.
They're looking for a house. And I know that sounds silly, but look at how our marketing changes when we think they're already looking for a house. If I'm going to help them with the finances for that house, I can track where they are. I know
Right.
that at lunch, they're going to be online looking at houses. So I want to be online at those sites at 8 p.m. Again, they're going to be looking at houses at 8 p.m. online. During the weekend, they might be in new neighborhoods looking for that house. So I could be on the radio while they're in the car, or
Wow.
I could be in billboards outside of new neighborhoods. So as you think about that customer's journey, it's really important that you map it out so you can intersect that journey. Because if you just advertise on a Tuesday night to everybody, 98% of your audience isn't in the space to buy a house yet.
Right. Okay, this is quite fascinating because it feels like you're almost moving into, you know, the brands we love think about lifestyle, because just listening to you talk about the customer's journey, it feels like really understanding the life that they're living, the choices they're making, the things that they desire, where they are when, how they arrive at their decisions, touch points, digital touch points or
Yep.
physical touch points, and being able to meet them on their own life journey and being able to
Yes.
signal at those touch points. So it feels
Yep.
more comprehensive than just how people think about marketing. Just keep blasting
Well,
messages out there and hope that it sticks.
yeah, I like to think about life moments,
Life
whether
moments.
they're big or small, right? So yes, there could be a life moment, a career changing moment, but there can also be a day in the week. When I was at Johnson and Johnson, I worked in the quit smoking business,
Mm.
and we advertised on Sunday nights because people started to think about their week ahead of them. And
Mm.
that's where you might make a life change on a Sunday
Wow.
night. Probably a lot of people have a bad night's sleep on a
Wow.
Sunday night, but you're thinking about the week and where you are in life and what you need to improve this week. Not on a, we wouldn't advertise on a Friday or a Saturday. To my knowledge, nobody's ever quit smoking at midnight in a bar on a Friday night. You know? So if you think about it that way, if that's the opposite of where they'll never use my brand, where does that lead me? It leads me onto a Sunday night, end of each month, New Year's Eve. All of those events could be moments when a customer is going to be more willing and open to the connection. If you're selling vacations, I learned this, that the best time to sell a vacation is when you're on vacation. Sounds strange, but your mindset is open, right? So you're on a
Wow.
vacation to Jamaica and you're loving it and having a great time. If you find out that, hey, you could go on vacation to somewhere else or take a cruise to the other islands that you're near, you'd be thinking, this sounds great. You're in the moment, you're open to that right then, rather than getting back to work and finding out, you've lost that customer. So one of the cruise lines that I've worked with, they do a free drink on the second last night of the cruise and gets everybody, and they try to sell you again. And
The
that's
next
what
one.
that moment is open. And so every brand can have different life moments when you can connect with.
Wow. So how much does psychology, human psychology play in marketing, right?
I find a ton, if you do it well. You get out of that talk about the widget and you start to talk about how the customer feels. And we see the best brands. I'm on an Apple right now, right? Apple is all about the customer and all about the simplicity and making it easier and comfortable to do more and get more with it.
Mm.
And that is the psychology of that product. They're not as good as their competitors on a product to product basis. What
Mm.
they do so well is they make you feel good about what you can do on a computer or a phone.
Right. So is this what they mean when we say we are buying emotion or we are selling emotion?
I think so. I think so. Yeah, emotions are the place to find and try to. That's one of the things that you can also do, is try to own certain emotions. So I mentioned the headache medication.
Mm.
Control is a huge emotion, feeling in control. And if you think about the flip side, when you feel out of control, man, that's a really emotional space, right? So people want to feel in control,
Mm-hmm.
knowledgeable, self-confidence, self-aware, likable. All of those different emotions can play into it. And I would push a brand to try to own one or two of those emotional spaces
Right.
and try to do it relative to your competition.
Mm. So looking at the world post COVID, right? Before COVID and after COVID, right? Have you seen more changes, or what consumer behavioral changes have you observed in your space? Because I see that a lot of sales people, marketing people seem to be struggling now. But I would love to know what your experience has been from doing this work before COVID-19 and then where the world is today.
With many brands, I find we're returning back to normal. That's first of all.
Okay.
But as marketers, what I find we have done is we've kind of panicked and we go for the sale too quickly.
Okay.
So what we want to do is use some of our content marketing and to warm up that sale
Okay.
and get people ready to buy. And then once you can do that, that's where you can, you have to try to understand when you can go for the sale. And people are
Mm.
going for the sale too quickly and then pushing the customer away. You warm them up, get them involved, try to move them along their journey from becoming aware to right away, engaged and try to understand the brand. Informing them is an important part of it. If I mention that car, right, over 2 years, you need to do a lot of work to move that customer ready to buy. If you just go, hey, have you heard of my new car? Do you want to buy it? You're like, no, I don't want to buy it. That's crucial.
Right. So the nurturing aspect is something we need to prioritize now. Just creating relationships, driving engagement, nurturing leads, deepening trust.
Yes.
If I hear you correctly, that needs to be prioritized than the everyday bombardment of buy this, buy now. Why haven't you bought? Buy now, right? That type of
and even with your customers that have been with you for 5 years.
Wow.
If all I do is hear buy you now, I might forget why I should buy you ever. Right? And that's what is crucial. Like, so you have to keep reinforcing that brand message, even to the people who've bought it, so that they keep buying it. Because that customer is getting bombarded with messages of your competition. And if your competition is offering better messaging and all you're doing is say, buy me now, why should I go with you when the competitor looks like they have other things to say than you do? So it's crucial to keep warm the customer up from unknown up to ready to buy. And then once you have that customer, keep them warm, and as well, I find that not only that, if you keep your customers warm, they'll be more willing to recommend you to others, which is free awareness. So if I go on Facebook and I say, who can I get to help me with my automobile? And someone will recommend somebody, and I'll be like, great. That means a lot more than an advertisement, because it's coming from a happy customer. And keeping those current customers warm is going to be what helps them to recommend others.
Yes. So let's come to your book.
Yep.
Like I've shared before with you, that I teach, and I found your book to actually be quite, complete in the sense of the frameworks, how you wrote that book, right? And so I'm curious to go, to get into your mind of why you wrote the book the way you wrote the book, and the types of feedback you've received from your readers and those who have leveraged the frameworks you've designed.
Well, not only did I never think I would be an entrepreneur, I for sure never thought I'd write a book. So that's one of the things that's been something. What I try to do in the book is I write how I would do it. And what I try not to give is I don't give the answers to people. Yes, I show examples, but I give the way to do it so you can insert your business, because I hate when people tell me the answer, because every brand has a different situation that they are facing. Could be, so many, there's thousands of categories, thousands of different brand situations. It's almost unique as a fingerprint. And so what I try to do is go through in the book how to actually do it, not give them random answers of most brands do this, so you should do that. And so what I look at is 5 areas of the book: the analytical side of things, the strategic thinking side, the brand positioning, the brand plan, and then the marketing execution. And then that leads you from there. It's a circle in our book that leads you into analyzing yet again. And that's what's really important, is trying to go through all 5 of those. And we go through the skills and techniques and models that can really help you with each of those 5 areas.
Yes.
I don't think I write in a fluffy way.
No,
I think
don't.
I write in a very direct way. and it's probably more based, I have had friends of mine tell me that I could almost hear you yelling these instructions uh, in your voice as I read it. And that's probably how it's written. And that's probably my business side of things, and probably why I'm never going to write a murder mystery book. That it is a purely business book on how to run your brand, really, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think most people, one of the things that surprises me is people will tell me the most common thing I hear is I reach for your book once a week to
Wow.
look something up. And that's really great to hear. But and I've got people who first read it 5 years ago when it came out and still reach for it all the time. And that's great to hear. And they
Yes.
might want to go through a part of it. So read it once and then come back to it
Oh, yes. Yes.
over and over.
Mine is on my desk.
Oh, good.
So, yes, mine is on my desk because it's not it's not it's not nonfiction. It's not a book that you just read and digest immediately. There's so much great stuff in there that it actually gets you thinking and solving, right? Is
Well,
that
good. That's the
to
intention.
yes, because today people now use this language of content and content, but here's the deal. I say education is packaged knowledge. Content can be entertaining. You might wake up tomorrow and not remember anything. Content might just be to keep you awake for a moment or to keep you entertained. But when it comes to business, right, business education, you have to think and you have to solve. And
Yes.
what I see today, just my own observation and caution to people who consume content without processing or thinking deeper or doing the work or letting that content go through them and they digesting and
Yes.
extracting the most value from it, is that that content is pretty much useless if you don't digest it. And the heart of
Yes.
digesting knowledge is you have to think, you have to practice, right? You have to do the work, right? And you have to solve. The more you can use the frameworks to solve your own problems, that's where the gold is,
Yeah.
right? That's where the real transformation happens. And I say that you can tell that I'm very passionate about this as an educator, is that many people stay at the surface of information and they don't dig deeper into meaning, into transformation as well. And so that's a problem I'm seeing
That's
today
true.
with the amount of knowledge, content that is out there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It
I
doesn't.
try, and I think when I engage in other people's content, whether it's a podcast
Mm-hmm.
or online content, the best ones are where I walk away going, I learned something. And
Yes.
and it can just be one thing, and that's okay. And so, sometimes people are only going to have a chance to spend 3 minutes on your content. And if you could just let them walk away with one thing, that's terrific,
Mm-hmm.
because the next day they might be back and learn a second thing.
Mm.
And after, if we look at that car business, if it takes 2 years to buy a car, and if I'm selling software to a company, it may take 2 years to get through to that as well, to switch
Mm.
over a company. And so it can all depend on what is the role of content. And my view is teach them one little thing each time,
Mm-hmm.
add it up, so that over a year they feel that they've learned 100 things. And that's one at a time, in a sense.
Wow. So what's the balance between long-term versus short-term results? Because yes, we need to nurture over a period of time that is determined by the consumer journey, right? Decision making process. But at the end of the day, this is the sales versus marketing battle.
Yes.
At the end of the day, if I need to sell today, what type of conversation, communication, delivery gets those who are ready today to buy?
Yes. And that is a really tough question to answer.
I know.
And so part of it is that we all want that revenue
Yes.
and we all need it, right? So we all trigger get some money coming in. And that's when the early stage of an entrepreneur, the entrepreneur feels most in panic. I've
Mm-hmm.
done all this work and I'm 3 months in and I don't have one sale yet.
Yes.
Or I'm not profitable sales. I'm
Mm.
spending more than I'm making in profit. Yes, I'm
Yes.
getting some sales. It all has to build over time.
Yes.
What you probably should think about is building a brand or marketing is like an investment.
Yes.
And so as we would deal with our personal investments, we want both short term and long term.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yes, I might take a shorter term approach on these investments, but I still want some Apple stock in my portfolio to grow over the long term.
Yeah.
And that is what the same thing with a brand. You've got to think about investing for the next 2 to 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
as well as half of your money and effort should be on the next 30 to 90 days.
Right.
And so that's what I would say. The great thing about short term is money in, as
Mm-hmm.
well as you get some new customers. So I know people have divided this into brand building for the long term and transaction for the short term. Sometimes even a short term can build the brand. That
Mm.
customer gets to try your product, loves it, talks about it to others for the next 5 years. So you've
Right.
got to find a balance between, creating that warm connection and knowledge of your brand, getting your positioning out there with triggering the actual revenue generation. So half and half
Yes.
is my approach.
I agree. And I think that's what has grown this movement of webinars and free webinars, because they try to not just leave people out there experiencing the brand. They want to create greater intimacy. So I've seen different strategies out there where there's weekly deeper experiences, right? What type of experience
Yes.
can you create for the consumer base to really also experience the brand in closer proximity?
Yeah.
Because out there on social media, you're still living your, should I say, your people, your community, they're engaging with thousands of brands. And so if you want to isolate that relationship and deepen that trust, part of some of the strategies, that is being deployed, particularly post-COVID, is bringing more people closer to you, like best friends,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Creating super fans, and giving them opportunity to touch, feel, experience the products and services. When you also think about Apple stores, and
Yep.
they also do it, creating experience centers, customer learning centers, really just to say, okay, you've seen us from a distance. Would you like to come closer and take a look, right?
Yeah. And what
And so,
Apple,
yes, go on.
one of the things Apple does so well, which I think we can all learn from, is they have a phrase on their floor of their stores to their salespeople. No means leave them alone.
Mm,
So, and what happens is the reason why, let them play. So
okay.
you've got all the toys out on the table. If I go up to them, do you need any help? And if the person says, no, I
No.
don't, 45 minutes of playing with that watch, they're going to say, hey, do you have this in blue?
Wow.
And so leave them alone. It's a soft sell approach, but let them experience the products, let them touch the iPhones and the MacBooks, and they'll eventually warm themselves up. And that's what I think Apple retail does so well. So think about it. If we can get closer to our customers, get them to experience what it's like, then they will purchase almost on their own time, in a sense, and you don't even have to trigger that sale.
Wow. I love that. So let me move into more of your leadership experiences and just ask, you seem to be in a field where a lot of patience is required, a lot of patience is required, a lot of deep emotional connection with the people we want to serve. So what types of tips, leadership tips, success tips, can you leave our audience with that you believe has helped you maintain success, be more successful, be a global influence in the world of marketing?
Well, my age has taught me patience.
Oh.
That's first of all. I was not patient when I was younger and in the corporate world. I was not patient at all. And so I'm really working on that still.
Oh.
What I recommend to many leaders is this idea of changing your brain speeds for the right situation. So
Okay.
I like to think of our brains like a race car driver.
Okay.
As we go on a race car driver, we slow down on the difficult corners. That is the strategy area. That's the analytics. We need to debate the strategy, figure it out, and go slow. If we go too fast into the corners or on the strategy, we crash our car. Yet on the straightaway, we need to go as fast as possible. And that's the execution side of things. So here I need to use the fast twitch parts of my brain to make fast decisions. I like that one. It fits the strategy that I worked months on, but I need to do it fast. And I don't want to create spin where it goes, we overthink things and then never get anything done. And that's one of the things. So changing your brain speed, going fast and slow, is crucial to being a leader. I find that that's one of the best things. And when you meet conflict, you might be using the wrong brain speed.
Oh, wow.
And so it's something to keep an eye on. Maybe I'm going too fast here, and maybe I have to slow down so the person I can see is not understanding or believing what I'm saying, and I'm trying to run them over too quickly. And so that's catch yourself on the right brain speed at the right time, fast and slow. And that is probably part of what will make you a better leader as you can get to the point of changing the brain speeds. And I worked with one gentleman that who I worked with in the Johnson & Johnson world, who was exceptional at changing this brain speed idea. And it just worked phenomenally for him because, he would go slow on the strategy and we'd have lots of questions, lots of debate, lots of discussion. But then when it came time to the execution side of things, he could make those fast decisions. So that's what I would say, brain speed.
Brain
fast
speed.
And slow.
That
Fast
is
and
so
slow.
fascinating. And it does take a lot of emotional intelligence, right? For us to be aware of what's going on within us and
That's right.
and how we interact and react to reality.
Yes. And marketing is, no matter how small of a company you have, it's all done through other people. And so as we get that emotional intelligence, that's where our best work is going to be. So everyone who works on your brand, whether they're on your own team or a partner team, you want to get the best out of them onto your brand, because they might be working on a different brand this afternoon or tomorrow, and they could give their best on that. And so try to get the best work of each of your partners onto your business is going to make your brand even better.
Wow, that's quite fascinating, because even beyond just your team, I personally see the interaction with the end consumer as part of that extension of communication, right? And one thing that I believe in and I say is that, it's really a core belief that I have, that I cannot think for you. My job is to give you something to think about.
Yep.
Right? Putting the responsibility of the decision-making process on the listener, on the viewer, on our readership, those who read our books, those who access the work that we put out there, our body of work, is that I do not take the responsibility to try and think for them, right?
Yeah.
But my job is to present something of incredible use. So usefulness, right? Value is tied to usefulness, that they can then consider within the context of their reality to be valuable, to be useful, to helping them achieve what they want to achieve. And so in my own mind, I try to separate those two responsibilities. And I always say passion sells, desire has to buy. Because what happens is we could get wrapped up in the world of our consumers so much that we're thinking for them and we forget why we're on this journey, right? So that's my own way of saying I'm passionate. I'm extremely passionate to support, serve those who care deeply about their future, who want to invest in their future. I am extremely passionate, but I also understand boundaries of I cannot be passionate for your future and you are not passionate for your future, right?
I love that. So your passion meets their desire.
Exactly. They have to come into the transaction with desire.
Yes, I love that.
Yes. I have a first degree in mathematics and I'm seeing this two balancing equation, right? How far can I go with my passion? Like I am extremely passionate to see people achieve success in their life and business. Like no question. I'm kind of like seriously on fire for that.
Well,
but that fire is not enough.
Yeah, one of the things that I say about marketers, and maybe your math background might relate to this as well. So advertising people see art, finance people see numbers. Marketers see art and numbers at the same time. So when I see a great ad on TV, it's almost like a cash register goes off in my head. Ding, 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 ding. And I can start to see the number. I can start to see, okay, so this is how they're going to get awareness, to trial, to purchase, to, you know, and I can actually start to see that. And that's one of the things I find the best marketers have that ability to see the art and numbers almost at the same time. That's essential.
I love it. And for me, just tagging on to what you shared, I see the heart of people, right? Moving the hearts and minds of people. And I say, what does it take for actually inspiring people to go to the higher dimension of their life? Because at the end of the day, this is about increasing productivity, right? Is that the work that we do, your book, your resources, your classes, your marketing program, the education that I provide as well is helping people produce at higher capacity, right?
That's right.
And so we can have the strategy, frameworks, all of these amazing resources ready to offer the world. But the types of people that I've seen that can actually maximize those resources, they have to step in forward with their own hunger for higher dimensions of results.
Love it. Yeah, we make the best people better.
Love it. I do, because there's performance. If people don't want to achieve the best in life, you cannot make them, because it does take a fire burning in them, and their own energy has to be invested in that future. So that's where I draw the line, is making sure that people also demonstrate some form of passion, some form of resiliency, because nobody gets to do the work if they don't desire the outcomes of the work, because work is not... It takes energy, focus, determination for us to drive change in the world.
That's right. Agreed.
I love it. Any parting words? This has been very enjoyable for me, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers as well.
Yeah, just, using all this thinking and really driving a brand that consumers will love is going to make you more powerful, grow faster, and have more profitability. That's what is the essential equation that leads to this. All the passion you can put into this, all of the great thinking and strategy will make that brand be something their customers crave.
Oh, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Graham, thank you so much for joining us. You can also check out his book. Where can they find your book? Amazon and where else?
Amazon and Apple Books, yes.
Yes, and then you're also on LinkedIn.
Right? For sure. Add me on LinkedIn. I try to post something, a little bit of a learning each day.
Oh, yes, you do post very helpful resources. So yes, they should try and track you down on LinkedIn and follow you as well. So thank you
Sounds good.
everyone for this episode, for joining me on this episode of Quantum Leap. I'm your host Toyin Umesiri. I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.